Chinks, gooks, fobs, the slant-eyed, the Bruce Lees, the Ching Chongs. We've all heard the names, and unfortunately most of us have grown accustomed to calling them these names. They are foreign people in a foreign land. What makes them any more different than anyone who calls them by these derogatory terms? Really? Make fun of immigrants in the land of immigrants? Stop and throw aside these habits and think about who they are, where they come from, and ask yourself, just who are the Chinese Americans? It was the gold rush of 1848 that started a huge race for gold. People everywhere rushed to California in hopes of finding golden nuggets. This is when the first major waves of Chinese immigrants coming to America began. Prospects of gold and riches pulled the Chinese to America. They were also experiencing civil war and famine back home, which pushed them to pursue jobs here in the US, so they could send the much needed money back home to their families. This is an example of the push-pull theory. The Chinese immigrants had many pull factors such as opportunities at work, money, better living conditions, and so on. The push factors are basically the opposite of what they believe they can find in America. They gave up the life they had in China in hopes of having a better life in America, oftentimes leaving behind family and loved ones. Many risked their lives overseas, and many died along the way. Most of the Chinese immigrants who came to America at this time were male. Because of this, after the gold rush, many of them found work on the Transcontinental Railroad. They agreed to lower paying salaries than other workers and endured rough and dangerous working conditions. Consequently though, this made them largely responsible for finishing the railroad, which was completed in 1869. Chinese immigrants also took jobs in urban settings as well. Many of them took jobs in just about every trade, including manufacturing, building, and running small businesses that include laundromats, restaurants, markets, and repair shops. Everything seems pretty good for the Chinese, huh? They found the work they wanted, they're becoming more and more populated in a new country, and they are slowly working towards their goals. Sadly, it wasn't that perfect. When the Chinese came and took the jobs of others, tensions grew between them and white residents. In 1871, there was a brutal race riot in LA. Many white residents ransacked Chinatown, and the outcome left around 20 Chinese men dead. Then came the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. This act prohibited all immigration of Chinese laborers to the United States. It followed some revisions later on, which allowed the US to suspend Chinese immigration completely. It was originally intended to only last 10 years, but it was renewed and made permanent in 1902. It was finally repealed in 1943. Now that it's 2013, we'd expect there to be less tension and less racism, right? That is not the case. We can still see racism to this day, stereotypes ranging from the Chinese drivers, the squinty eyes, the Ching Chongs. Racism is just as prevalent today as it was 50 years ago. Actually, it's gotten even worse. Not only are the whites still calling us Ching Chongs and fob, ironically enough, the new generation of whitewashed Chinese Americans are getting in on the act too. Chinese Americans, with parents and grandparents who were immigrants. They are stupidly calling new immigrants fobs. The new immigrants of today have a few things to say when asked the following question. How was your experience in America? Elway responded with, "It was not easy coming to here. I hear names come from everyone. It is not nice here. I miss old home in China." Jay Zhao also responded with, "I leave my friends and my house in China when I was very young. I was promised a better life, better opportunities. I did not get that. Every day, I want to go back to China. I have friends there. Here, I have nobody. The students at school call me Chink, and one time, a Chinese American who called himself white called me and my friend fob number 1 and fob number 2. It is just horrible here." The Chinese Americans have been through a lot since coming here in 1848. They wanted what everyone wanted who came to America for, a chance at life, a better life. And in a sense, that may have been granted, but in another, it's been taken away. We can do something though. We can stop the racism and stop the names. Chink, Gook, Fob, the Squinty-Eyed, the Bruce Lees, and the Ching Chongs can be history. These are Chinese Americans. They walk just like everyone else, they work just like everyone else, they dream just like everyone else. These are Chinese Americans, and they are just like everyone else.